Lewis Hamilton's shocking P8 message to Leclerc. Baku didn't end with Ferrari unity. It ended with sarcasm, silence, and a message that cut deeper than any overtake. The cameras showed Hamilton crossing the line in eighth. What they didn't show you was Leclerc's radio snapping with bitterness. He can enjoy that P8. This wasn't just about positions. This was about power. About who decides when Ferrari obeys its own rules and who dares to ignore them. Hamilton lifted, but not soon enough. 4 out of 10 late, and suddenly Ferrari had a political storm because in Formula One mistakes on track fade, but messages like this one, they live forever. Leclerc started ahead, even after crashing in qualifying. But the truth is his Ferrari carried an invisible wound. An intermittent hybrid recovery issue that stole power exactly when he needed it most. In Baku, on that endless straight, it was a death sentence. To cover himself from Norris, he pitted too early on lap 19, locking himself into a long, punishing second stint on worn mediums. Hamilton, further back, waited. He managed the rhythm, conserved, and when he stopped on lap 36, he came back armed with fresher tires and the time to strike. That was when the voice from the pit wall decided the order went out. Charles had to move aside. He did, but not without resentment. On lap 42, Hamilton swept through. The mission was clear. Attack Norris-Lawson. Officially, it was strategy, but anyone really listening knew it was more than that. It was a hierarchy being drawn in real time. Every lap revealed who leads and who follows. The deal was simple. If Hamilton couldn't break through, he would give the place back. Lap after lap, he hunted, closing on Norris. But the DRS train ahead was ironclad. With every attempt fading, the order came once more. Swap back before the line. Hamilton lifted. He braked, but too late. 4 out of 10 too late. By the time the checkered flag flashed, the exchange was incomplete. On the pit wall, silence. In the garage, frustration. And in the cockpit of the other Ferrari, sarcasm cut through the radio. He can enjoy that P8. To the outside world, Vasseur softened it. A misjudgment, nothing more. But inside the team, the message carried weight. The clerk obeyed the wall and lost. Hamilton delayed and left Baku as the one holding track position. It was not just 8th place. It was a glimpse of who bends and who refuses. Fred Vasseur faced the cameras with calm words. No drama, no accusations, just a shrug dressed as leadership. Hamilton, he said, had simply misjudged the line. A fourth's error, nothing more. A detail for the statisticians, not a scandal for the headlines. But in Formula One, details are never just details. They are signals. And the signal here was unmistakable. Ferrari had issued an order and Hamilton had not executed it in time. Whether by error or by intent, the effect was the same. Leclerc gave. Hamilton kept. For Vasseur, the political balancing act is constant. He must protect Leclerc, Ferrari's chosen heir, while integrating Hamilton, the 7-time champion who did not come to Maranello to play second. So he framed it as confusion, a small mistake. Yet the radio told another story. The clerk wasn't confused. He was humiliated. And Hamilton, he walked away still in front. In Baku, Ferrari called it misjudgment. The paddock called it something else. Defiance. When the checkered flag dropped, the real explosion wasn't on track. It was on the radio. The clerk's voice, sharp and bitter, cut through the static. I don't really care. It's for 8th place. He can enjoy that P8. It was sarcasm, but it carried more weight than a shout. In that moment, Leclerc exposed what Ferrari tried to hide. Resentment. He had obeyed the wall, sacrificed track position, and then watched Hamilton cross the line still ahead. For a driver who prides himself on being the team's cornerstone, it felt like betrayal. The words echoed like a public wound. To fans, it sounded like a scene from a drama, not a race. The teammate reduced to biting remarks, the mask slipping under pressure. It recalled past moments when the clerk's emotions burned louder than his results. Monaco walls, pit radio eruptions, clipped tones that betrayed frustration. This wasn't just sarcasm. It was a reminder that in Ferrari's garage, unity is a slogan, not a reality. and Hamilton's presence makes that fracture impossible to hide. While Leclerc boiled, Hamilton stayed ice cold. No tantrum, no bitterness, just a measured explanation. He admitted he had lifted, he had brake, but he was zoned in on Norris ahead. April 10th late. A misjudgment, yes, but nothing more sinister in his voice. He even offered an apology to Charles. But look closer. This is the psychology that defines Hamilton. Where others explode, he dissects. He framed the moment not as failure, but as focus. His eyes were locked on the car ahead, not on the scoreboard politics behind. That calm, almost surgical detachment is what unsettles rivals because it suggests he is always playing a longer game. For Ferrari, this creates a paradox. A champion who doesn't bend to pressure, but also doesn't bow to orders the way their system demands. To Vasseur, it was convenient to call it an innocent error. To Leclerc, it was a humiliation. To Hamilton, it was simply proof that he is wired differently. And in Formula One, being wired differently often decides who leads and who follows. Ferrari has lived this script before. Team orders turning into fractures, radio calls exposing mistrust, drivers caught between obedience and rebellion. Vettel knew it with Adami's hesitant calls. Alonso lived it in the politics of 2010, even Massa, once ordered to move over, carried scars of a system that bends loyalty until it breaks. Now, it is Hamilton's turn inside the same theater, the names change. The colors remain, Ferrari promises unity. Yet every radio exchange pulls back the curtain on civil war. The clerk obeys, then snaps. Hamilton delays, then apologizes, but only after he keeps the position. And Vasseur, he smooths it all with words like misjudgment, hoping history won't notice. But history always notices. Fans remember the orders, the betrayals, the silent glances in the garage. And when patterns repeat, they no longer look like mistakes. They look like culture. That is why Baku was not just a PA drama. It was a reminder that Ferrari's greatest enemy is never outside the car. It is always inside. Inside Ferrari, the radio told one story, but outside in the paddock corridors, it was read differently. Rivaling Jimenez's Mirquez. They had seen this movie before. A team fractured by its own orders. McLaren whispered that Hamilton had already bent Ferrari's hierarchy. Red Bull insiders noted how fast the clerk's mask slipped. Even Mercedes mechanics, the ones who know Hamilton best, quietly said this wasn't a mistake. It was intent. Because in Formula One, perception is power. If the paddock believes Hamilton can defy orders without consequence, then Ferrari's political shield around the clerk is already cracked. And once cracked, it never fully heals. That is why Baku mattered. Not for the trophy, not for the points, but for the message. A message that every rival team heard loud and clear. Ferrari isn't united. It's split. Baku was not about P8. It was about who Ferrari truly follows. And the next races will sharpen that question. In Imola, in Monaco, in every garage where red uniforms gather, this story will hang in the air. Is Hamilton the leader already? Or is Ferrari still trying to protect Leclerc? For Leclerc, the danger is clear. Every sarcastic radio, every public crack makes him look fragile. For Vasseur, the balancing act is collapsing. Silence will no longer hide division. And for Hamilton, this is the moment he thrives. Calm in the storm, focused, relentless, reshaping the team around him with nothing more than silence and presence. So what comes next? A podium fight or another fracture? Will Ferrari admit Hamilton has the authority or push him back into conflict? One thing is certain, the civil war in red has only begun to burn. Now I ask you, was Baku sabotage, incompetence, or quiet defiance? Comment your verdict below, and if you stand with Hamilton's fight, write it in bold. Hashtag stand with Lewis. Subscribe because the next race will not just test speed, it will decide leadership.